The following interview is being conducted as part of the Price of Freedom project by the Madison County Military Heritage Commission to inform our community of the sacrifices made by those in the military on battlefields around the world. We wish to thank the Huntsville School System and the ETV Broadcast Center for their help in presenting this Military Heritage program. Hello everyone, I'm Tom Kennemer. Today our conversation is with U.S. Army veteran Richard Gray. Richard is the recipient of the Bronze Star Medal with Valor for his heroism during combat in November of 1969 while serving in the Republic of Vietnam. He is also the recipient of the Purple Heart Medal for wounds he received during battle. Richard served 17 years in the U.S. Army, retiring as a lieutenant colonel in 1982. He was inducted into the Madison County Military Heritage Hall of Heroes in 2016. Richard, it's a pleasure to have you with us, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate being invited to talk with you about my experiences in the military, which I want to start off by saying I'm here thanks to some very gallant men that served under me.
Yeah.
And it was always a great privilege and honor to have led them in combat. And make no mistake about it, it's an unbelievable experience and thrill to lead the American combat soldier in combat. So again, I thank you, and I thank the people that served under me.
Richard, first of all, tell us a little about, as I understand, you were born and raised in Hawaii, is that right?
Yes, I was. I was raised in Hawaii. We became a state in 1959. I graduated from high school in 1960. It's a long time ago.
Yeah. Do you have family members in the military?
Yes.
Did you have? Yeah.
Yes, I have two nephews still living in Hawaii. And that's it now. Most of us have moved away. I have a brother in Oregon. And
I see. Was your dad in World War II, for instance?
No, he was not. He was a hardware worker in Hawaii, and he was born there also.
I see. So. Now, you're a West Point graduate. Explain to our audience the appointment process of how you were admitted to West Point.
I was admitted from then the state of Hawaii, and it was a pretty lucky thing. The territory only had one appointment. When we became a state, as people may not understand this, our senators served staggered terms. I believe one served 6 years and one served 4. But and it may have been 4 and 2. I'm not sure how it exactly went. But we went from one appointment to 7. So I decided to apply. I would have a decent opportunity to get there, and it turned out I did. So
well, you had good grades in school.
Well,
I'm sure
I had decent grades, but I was what they would look for in military academies is a good all-around person. They not look just for good grades, but they want to be somewhat athletic, and I'm kind of that middle-of-the-road type guy that got in. So.
Yeah. Well, tell us about how you felt when you first received news that you were appointed to West Point. You're elated, I'm sure. Tell us about that.
Elated and scared.
Really? Okay.
I mean, I knew it was going to be tough, and it is tough. And I'll tell any young man or woman that wants to go to West Point, it's you have to be dedicated. Let's put it this way. You have to commit yourself to it, and then you'll do fine. Yeah.
Now, talk a little more about life at the Military Academy and the courses of study that they're available to those.
In those days, it was general engineering. It was 60% engineering and 40% liberal arts. We did not have majors when I graduated, and when I did graduate, you were commissioned in one of the combat arms. You were either you could not go into the non-combat arms from there. So it was a little bit different than it is now, but it's still a challenge.
It's 4 years, just like college.
4 years,
basically. Right?
It's a 4-year institution. The first 2 years are rough, particularly the first year, and the second year is also pretty rough. But by the time you're a junior and a senior, it's you're starting to enjoy life again.
Physical training is also a big part of it. Talk a little about that. I mean, every day you have to work out. And,
we went not only to what they called Beast Barracks as a freshman, and that is a camp and run. It's the old story: you run 5 miles before breakfast, and a lot of those physical training. Then the next year we went to Recondo training, which was similar to a compressed Ranger training. So we went through that and did additional training, of course, every summer. West Point does more training in the summer than even ROTC does during the year. But during the regular year, there's just academics and marching. There's not as much military training.
Yeah. Now, you're in the military. Did you get leave, Richard? I mean, to go home or to go, go off base? How did that work?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, leave and off base is, of course, depending where you are and what you're doing.
Right.
But in the military, you have 30 days a year vacation that you can get. And you can, of course, you have holidays and so forth. It's not as tough as people think. You'll spend, you make up for it because you work a lot of Sundays. But no, you get, it works, you get your passes and so forth.
Right.
You can.
Yeah. Were you involved with any sporting activities? Did you play football or basketball? Anything like that?
I played water polo, as you might suspect.
From Hawaii?
From
Sure.
Hawaii
Right.
at
Yes, sir.
West Point. And I also played a lot of intramural sports. That is one thing that's required at West Point. You have to participate in a sport every semester. And the rules then were it couldn't be the same sport. You had to have a terrific variety of learning different sports and things.
Sure, yeah. Now, upon graduation, you received a commission in the infantry. How is it determined what field a cadet will wind up in? Talk about that process.
Again, we were only permitted at that time to go into a combat arm, and those days were infantry, armor, artillery, signal, and combat engineers. They usually divide the class into thirds. And of course, the top cadets get their choice, and the second third, the top get their choice. What they don't want to load one of the branches was all the top 50 guys or whatever it is. So it's done in thirds that way to keep it fairly equal. And I was at high enough in the bottom third to get my choice infantry.
Good, good. All right.
The old saying in the Army, you're going in the infantry. That's what I wanted.
Smile about it,
yeah,
at least.
Smile
and go through the process. All right, now following your graduation, you went through airborne and ranger training. Tell us about that experience. That was another, a lot of heavy training there.
Well, after 4 years at West Point, it wasn't as rough as people like.
Yeah.
However, I will say this about Ranger School, we learned an awful lot. That was more of a teaching experience. It's grueling, but we were in shape by then, of course.
Now, was that like Fort Bragg, Fort Campbell? Or
Okay, Ranger in those days was 9 weeks long. It was split into 3 phases. There was the initial phase at Fort Bragg, then we went to Dahlonega, Georgia, which was mountain phase, which, you learn to climb upside down there. That's very interesting. Then you go to the swamp training down in Florida, which was Eglin Air Force Base. So there's 3 phases, and that's...
And you went to airborne, and then you went to ranger?
Yes, I went to airborne first, so again, I was in better shape. But that's, as I recall, airborne's 2 weeks of physical training and learning how to jump.
All right, now tell us about, what was that experience like, Richard, jumping out of the plane for the first time? What was it like?
You ask yourself, you're standing in the door there, and you say, what idiot would jump out of a perfectly good airplane? And,
there's nothing wrong with the plane.
Yeah, all right, and then the sergeant hollers, jump, and you're in the air. That's how well trained you really are. You're reacting at that point, and then you're in the prop wash, and you say, well, now I know what idiot would jump out of an airplane. It's me, So.
Did you keep finding yourself reaching for that handle to pull?
Well, you're ready.
Okay.
But you're hooked in those things. I don't recall anybody having to use that, but I'm sure it has to be. It's there for a reason.
But that is quite an experience, that first time.
It is. But we were ready. We were prepared, and that's another thing that I try to stress to people is be prepared. I mean, that's the only... In fact, the whole theme of this discussion is going to be, if you want to really be ready for life, prepare for it. Don't avoid it. Don't go into denial. Prepare. And we were well prepared, Tom.
The training kicks in.
Yes, it was. Training. We had some good sergeants, some good people training us.
Now, when did you first go to Vietnam, and what were your duties? And first of all, did you go to other, now you went to airborne training and ranger training.
Right.
What other bases did you go to before you went to Vietnam?
Well, I went to jungle school, but my first assignment was, I was a bachelor, Tom, okay? So I decided, living expenses pretty high in the United States. I said, well, I'll volunteer for career. We really weren't indoctrinated into Vietnam in '64. So I went to career for 12 months up on with an infantry battalion up near the DMZ, and I had an infantry platoon at the time, and then I became the 4 Deuce mortar platoon leader. After that tour, I came through Hawaii. 25th Division was getting ready to deploy to Vietnam. Vietnam had kicked in, and I looked at, to show you the difference, how excited I was, and a young crazy guy. I went down there and said, I got to get my licks in before this war is over, because it's going to be over in 6 months, for crying out loud, Tom. I mean, there's no question about it. So I got my assignment changed. I had assignment to Fort Bragg, to Fort Benning, and I had that changed to joined the 25th Division.
Yeah.
So I took over a reconnaissance platoon in Hawaii. We trained for about a month, month and a half, and deployed to Vietnam. And that was a great experience because I deployed with a unit that I had trained. We came together.
Yeah.
The other
You knew
thing,
each other, yeah.
we knew
trained
each
with
other,
one
and the
another, yeah.
experience level was unbelievable. There was a requirement you had to have a year as a platoon leader before you could lead a platoon in the 25th Division.
Wow.
So I had 13 months as a platoon leader, and I took over a platoon. This is my third platoon I'd led, really.
Yeah.
All of my sergeants, my platoon sergeant had 16 years in the infantry. My squad leaders had 8 years in the infantry. Even my men, Spec 4s, they had at least a year or two. There were no, I'm trying to say, there were no green troops in that unit, although we didn't have a lot of combat experience.
Yeah.
But we did. We had some
Guys
guys
were well prepared, yeah.
We were experienced, well-trained, well-prepared bunch that deployed.
Yeah. Where did you go? What part of Vietnam did you go to first?
We were, as a reconnaissance platoon leader, we were deployed and based out of Cu Chi. You may have seen the tunnels of Cu Chi. I had a couple
heard
of
of it, right,
tunnel rats in my outfit. As a reconnaissance platoon leader, I did a lot of the reconnaissance between Saigon, the Iron Triangle, the Tay Ninh province, just this side of Cambodia, and northern Mekong Delta. It was all over that area.
I see. Richard, describe the Vietnam terrain for our audience. I think many people have the perception that it's all jungle. It's a beautiful country.
It's
really,
an absolutely gorgeous country,
Yeah.
and it could be a great tourist attraction.
Yeah.
But the terrain that I was in on my first tour was basically rubber plantations. The Michelin plantation was there, the old French. In fact, you could come across the ruins of French plantation homes. I mean, you talk about Gone with the Wind. I mean, those were beautiful places that had been at one time. And it went from, of course, the swamps of the Mekong, which were pretty thick, to the jungles of just north by Tay Ninh and around there. But there were some cleared areas too. It was pretty swampy, jungly where I was the first tour. Second tour was more Central Highlands, more coastal, that kind of thing. But it's not the kind of jungle that you have to hack your way through. You can,
Talk a little about what a mission was like. Would you go out with escort the South Vietnamese, or at that point, like in '64, early '65, for the complete buildup, in '65, '66 time frame? What would you do? What was your mission like? All
right, my mission, generally speaking, as a platoon leader, we would get orders to go out and conduct a routine patrol on a lot of cases. In which case we would get together, we would make our plans, we would get our troops, if we had a chance, we might practice a little bit in the base camp. But generally speaking, we would go out at night with a squad, platoon, or whatever it is, conduct a patrol, and come back in the next morning. So, and we had an outpost that we would go out through and come back in. We got to know those guys pretty well, because one of the most dangerous things you'll ever do in the military is re-enter friendly front lines, because those guys they're nervous, green troops. And the other thing I did was I did a lot of reconnaissance for different units that came into Vietnam. One was a unit that came into Tay Ninh province, the 194th, and then the 9th Division down in the northern Mekong. We helped with them at one point.
I see. Okay, now when you had some free time, which after a mission you didn't maybe not have a whole lot of that, what did you do for relaxation? Did you guys sleep in tents? Did you could you put up a movie screen? I know you didn't have cell phones back then. So
no.
What did you do for relaxation?
What we did for relaxation was, one thing, it was always nice to take a shower and get cleaned up and get a decent cooked meal. But we did live in, I'm going to call them wood huts type thing on the base camps. It was pretty nice. But being reconnaissance, we were out in the field quite a bit. I had uniforms rot off my back. I mean, that's how long we would be out there. So.
Little rank there.
A little rank for after a while. After a while, everybody smells the same.
Yeah, I mean, so you don't notice it, right? Yeah.
But when we came back, we would get everything together and really just have some relaxation time.
Right, yeah. Just kick back a little bit. You needed that. Yeah. I'm sure you formed lasting friendships in the service. Do you still stay in contact with a lot of your friends?
Yes, I do. infantry squad leader, a guy by the name of Skip Bishop. He's a retired police officer now in Waco, Texas. We get together at least once a year, our families. Bill Sweat had my scout section. He ran and still runs a fish camp up in the Kenai Peninsula in Alaska. I keep wanting to go up there and visit him rather than him come down here and visit us.
Yeah.
But he's got relatives in Tennessee, so he comes by through here.
Good.
And we have a reunion every now and then that we can. I have a guy by the name of, one of the things I want to point out to people, because sometimes you hear negative things, is just about every one of my men that I keep track of or have the honor of at least having, being able to know what they're doing.
Right.
And we're talking 10, 12 guys out of about 35.
Yeah.
The rest I've lost track of, I guess, but that's time. They've all been very successful. Larry Tomlin up in Tennessee is a retired preacher. He's got a PhD. Bill Sweat, as I mentioned, is the Kenai Peninsula Fish Camp and another fish camp up in Tennessee.
Yeah.
I've got one that's, he and his wife are cross-country truck drivers, but they've all been successful.
Yeah.
They've all been contributors. It's, so I'm very proud of them. I really am.
Good, good. Tell us about the mission in November of 1969 for which you would receive the Bronze Star with Valor. Talk about that mission.
Okay, well, that was again, a routine mission. We got orders to clear a little island in a bay called Sniper's Island. You could walk to it. You didn't have to take a boat or anything to it, but up to here in a swamp type thing. And of course, anytime you go on a mission, where you're up and moving around, your best friend is bad weather. Everybody doesn't like bad weather. I love it, you know, and night and darkness, because that covers the noise. It covers a lot of things. And it was raining down like crazy, and it was bad weather. And we were about halfway through the sweep of this island, and I had my point squad out there that was out there, ran across and I think we caught them basically by surprise because of the weather. And they laid down a base of fire. We maneuvered, and it was a pretty good little fight. We wound up, I think, killing 16 and capturing 4 or 5. And I got a lot of credit for what my men did. Let's put it that way.
I see. Richard, talk about, and I'm sure it involved this mission, talk about small unit tactics and ambush avoidance and how these things factor into a mission.
Well, Tom, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm always concerned when I hear about people not being prepared, not understanding what it takes to win. I never used, for instance, for ambush avoidance, I never used a point man, okay? Yes, there's always somebody out front, but I used what's called a point fire team. Now, the Army infantry platoon is equipped or is organized in 3 squads plus a weapons squad, which has the machine guns. Each squad is 11 men in my day, 2 5-man teams and a squad leader.
Right.
What I would use is I would make sure that we marched or we patrolled the jungle and as close to a wedge as I could get. 1 squad here, 1 squad here, 1 squad at the point, okay? And then there was 5 men up front, just kind of spread out and watching each other's back. Doesn't put pressure on a guy. It keeps things equal. It keeps things very alert and ready. And if you get hit and you never know where you're going to hit from in Vietnam. So what you've got to be prepared for, and you have to rehearse this, you have to practice it. You have to be prepared. And what I would do is whoever got hit, it might not be this point squad that gets hit, but this unit here this squad over here may get hit. And you're in the middle. The squad that got hit drops. The 2 fire teams come up on line. They lay down a base of fire. And whichever way I went, I would leave what's called a maneuver element. They would come out, up, and around, and come here. Now you're asking, the machine gun squads would come up immediately. I'd either grab one, take one with me, or direct one to go with the base of fire, or both with the base of fire. Now that you're saying, okay, you got 1 squad maneuvering, 1 squad laying down a base of fire, what are you doing with the 3rd squad? This is Vietnam. You don't know if that's the main attack or not. You don't know what's going on. So the 3rd squad sets a perimeter behind you to protect your rear. And that's how you avoid ambushes, that's how you win, and that's why you train.
Why you stay alive most of the time.
Yeah, it does.
Makes a difference.
It optimize. You want to put your men in a position to win.
Yeah.
You know, there's no second place in war.
How would you describe to young people what it's like to serve in war, Richard? The thoughts you have of possibly being killed or wounded during battle.
Yeah, I tell young people, don't shirk your responsibilities. Whatever you do, embrace them. If you have a chance to join the Army, or you're, in my day, drafted, in your day, drafted, whatever it is, don't shirk it. Do it.
Right.
Because there's a couple of things you want in life, and you don't want to avoid responsibility. You know, man up to it. You want to, as I've said before, to not procrastinate, to make sure that you're prepared. And as such, you know, you'll find out that leading in combat and all these things, they're quite much a very self-rewarding situation. But if you do avoid responsibility, and you can wind up being a snowflake.
Yeah.
Okay.
How would you answer the question, is it okay to be afraid or scared during combat? I mean,
It's absolutely okay to be afraid. We are all afraid, Tom. You know, I don't have to be in combat to be afraid, but you can minimize that. You minimize it by being well prepared, knowing what you're going to do. What's going to happen if I get hit from the right? What's going to happen if I get hit from the left? You're constantly going through that in your mind, so you're
relying on
prepared.
your training.
And relying on your training. The time that I'm most scared is when I don't have control of the situation, or I wasn't prepared. For instance, during a mortar attack, and I'm in the base camp, and I'm in a foxhole, and I can hear the helicopters taking off to go after the enemy mortars. I hear the artillery starting to respond, but I'm sitting here. I have no control, and I'm calculating the odds. Is that one of those incoming rounds going to hit my foxhole, or what? And the other time, you're riding as a passenger in the helicopter, and the helicopter is being shot at. You can't do anything about it.
Right.
You know, you sit on your flak vest, so it's bullets coming up from the rear, from on.
Somebody.
Don't hit you in the butt. So,
Yeah.
But those are when you're really afraid. When you have control of the situation and you know what you're going to do, that minimizes your fear. Yeah. But being scared, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
it's all part of it.
Hey.
Share with us, Richard, who or what prepared you to take the actions you did during combat. You know, some of our veterans talk about the tough sergeant in boot camp, or in your case at West Point. I mean, who was it? Was it one person that stood out that helped you the most, maybe, that you can think back that helped you the most while in combat?
You have to go back to being prepared and being responsible. That goes back to my father and my family. Okay, now he's not a combat veteran. He was a like I say, a hardware store type guy, or working class guy. But he make you prepared, and then yes, my sergeants, the ones that I had in Korea, they were no nonsense, and they expected their lieutenants to listen and behave, okay, and learn from them. And I was fortunate enough to have been taught at West Point to listen and learn, and that's hopefully I did that. And I did. My men were inspiring. That's the other thing. So.
But it started with your upbringing.
Yes, I think it does. Yeah. I think it does.
Do you often wonder, would you do it all over again?
Yes, I would, and only because of what I've just said. I think if you start avoiding responsibilities, you just develop into something that I don't want to be.
You were wounded twice during your 2 tours in Vietnam. Your most serious wound was when you lost the lower part of your right leg. Talk about that experience, Richard, and how it affected your life and your career.
When I lost my leg, that was in combat on that same Sniper's Island. That was one of those places. We were on that island, I think some 10, 12 times, and we had enemy contact all 10, 12 times. It was one of those, one way or another, either with like minefields or something. But I was very fortunate. I wound up being transported, still being a resident of Hawaii, to Triple Army Hospital. And if you're going to be sick in Hawaii, and be an orthopedic patient, because that's, you're really not sick, okay? But there's and our nurses, et cetera, we went down to Waikiki, and we were given a lot of free tickets and things like that, and entertained. People think there's a lot of anti-Vietnam. There was also a lot of concern for the troops, and the civilians took good care of us. The entertainers down there took good care of us, and we even got tours of the outside islands. Now, once I was discharged from the hospital, and incidentally, the other thing the military does is when you're in the hospital, they put you to work. So you're still, I had command of the hospital company at that time with a bunch of medics. That's a whole new story, medics, but they're great people. I'm sorry, but they can be different. I went, the Army sent me to University of Alabama, where I got a master's degree in mechanical engineering. And from there, I went on to a tank battalion. I had branch transferred to armor. By then, I was now a tanker. They did not do anything that changed my career whatsoever. So I participated in everything. I did everything. I was a tank battalion S3 operations officer, which means I did all the planning and most of the training and did a lot of the leading of the battalion, which was a lot of fun. So I just continued up the career. When I got finally assigned to then the Ballistic Missile Defense Agency, the Advanced Technology Center, because I had a master's degree and the military has a policy that it has to be used. You just can't. So I was here working with the infrared optics department here in Huntsville, and it came up around the 17th, 18th year, and I realized I would probably retire at 20 or 21, and they wanted to send me to Europe, and I said, well, I'll take my disability retirement now here in Huntsville. So what an opportunity. Great town, great city, love it.
Been here ever since, basically.
Since well, I was in the military here, so it's been since 1978.
We'll talk a little more about that a little bit. Now, you touched on it briefly. When you served, there were protests, back home regarding the Vietnam War. What was your feelings on that? And did you encounter any protest when you returned?
Certainly did. Certainly did, Tom. A lot of my troops and myself, they had feces thrown at them. They were not treated very well. We couldn't wear our uniforms. I remember in Hawaii, I was in a bank. I was on crutches. Okay, but I had my uniform on, didn't have my artificial leg yet, and I was in the bank, and there's a couple of the old gals that were the bank tellers, they're old Hawaiian gals, and let me tell you, you don't mess with them, okay? And there were 2 or 3 hippies that came in. They were going to cash their daddy's checks, I'm sure, and they started making fun of me. Well, I'll tell you what, in there's no uncertain terms, those bank tellers took care of those hippies, and their checks didn't get cashed in that bank, and I was taken care of. So they're good people, but there were some very evil people that took it out on the Army.
I see.
And I still am not very fond of General Westmoreland. He should have resigned in protest the same way Douglas MacArthur did. It would have taken the heat off the soldiers and put the heat where it belonged on the Congress. But that's a historical discussion we can have at some other time, Tom, and it could be a very interesting discussion.
I'm sure it would be. I want you to tell us about your family. I believe you and your wife, Janet, have been married, nearly 50 years, or 50? Is it?
It'll be 48.
48, okay. close to it. Tell us a little about your family.
Well, Janet and I met actually before I lost my leg, and we got married when I got back from Vietnam.
Is she from Hawaii as well?
No, she's from Louisville, Kentucky.
I see.
Yeah, I always joke about that, but she's in the West Coast. I could probably say.
She's a Southern girl.
She's a good Southern kid. Anyway, we've been married for 48 years and have 2 children. My son that runs a hockey supply company here in Huntsville, Twiggy's Hockey.
Good.
And my daughter, who's a commander in the Navy, she's got a doctorate in nurse practice, pediatrics, that's her specialty. And I have 1 grandchild, 3. He's in San Diego, of course, and we're expecting another one next month. That's where my wife is helping my daughter out. So,
be a big time coming up here.
We're kind of excited.
I know you are. What are some of the things you're involved with now, Richard, these days? I know you're not just sitting around twiddling your thumbs. You're still pretty active. Talk about some of the things you're doing.
I retired. I think I've retired 3 times and it never worked. You have to keep active in something. And I finally retired. I think mainly I aged out of a job or became obsolete. I was fired, Tom. Okay. Anyway, I tried woodworking. That didn't work. I tried a couple other hobbies. That didn't work. And I've taken up shooting.
I'm
and
gonna
I
get
just
this bug off of you right there.
I got a bug. Uh-oh, you mean that's the National Security Agency here, Tom?
I don't know.
Yeah, I've taken up shooting, and I have a bunch of friends. We go to the blue-gray range down here, and we just have a good old time poking holes in paper.
Yeah.
And we enjoy it.
Yeah. Richard, going back on it, the loss of the lower part of your leg, did that affect, out of the military, like getting a job, that sort of thing? Like you worked in the aerospace? Well,
No, not really. No, I think, no, it didn't hurt me a bit, Tom. I'm almost certain that, well, I worked, as I said, I took an opportunity here. I went to work for Nichols Research, Roy Nichols, and, Bill Davies was my boss. He's since passed away in the Advanced Technology Center, and Chris Horgan.
No effect whatsoever?
No, I don't think so. You make yourself what you want to make yourself. If you rely on your handicap, then you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to do anything. I'll never forget, and this is a story that needs to be told to the world in a lot of ways. My mother was a tough gal. When my father passed away, she sort of had to take over the hardware business and so forth and so on. And I'll never forget coming home one day from on vacation and talking to her, and I says, Mom, they have this woman-owned business thing that you can get special privileges. Why don't you go down to Pearl Harbor and drum up some business? I guess I got my butt chewed worse than I've ever had it chewed in my life. She looked at me and she said, if you ever use your handicap to get ahead, you'll be nothing. And the second thing she said, those men I compete with, they got families to feed too. And if I can't compete with them straight up, then I don't belong in business.
Good advice.
I'll tell you what.
Stuck with you, didn't it?
It stuck with me, and I realized, you don't realize, if you put limits on yourself, nobody else does. If you listen to someone telling you that you can't do something, and you say, yeah, you're right, then you're snowflake material.
Yeah. You were inducted into the Hall of Heroes in 2016. What has that experience, Richard, meant to you?
It's been a great experience. One, I've met a lot of interesting men from my generation, and a lot of interesting young ladies from our generation also. It has been, I really feel like I've been welcomed home, Tom. And I told this to my wife, and she kind of, it's an emotional experience. Is that I really feel that the Hall of Heroes in Huntsville, Alabama, and Madison County I really feel like I finally am home. And it's been something that's been, I guess it's been in the back of your mind since those experiences with the hippies, and the way you're looked upon and the way you're discriminated against sometimes. And maybe I've never let it bother me. I've never let it chew on me, but to some reason, I guess it has been there, and you can't deny it.
Right.
You have to face it. But I think the Hall of Heroes has welcomed me home, and I really feel home. It's like something is lifted off my shoulder.
We'll go back to your time in service. I'd like you to talk about those who've served in the armed forces for any length of time is aware of the extended military family. Talk about what that means for your family when you're serving overseas. And the extended military family, I mean, every veteran that's spent any length of time in the service talks about what that has meant to them and their family.
Well, you're always home.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care where you're stationed, at Huntsville, Fort Polk, Louisiana. My daughter's likely to go to Okinawa to serve in Okinawa. She'll find out what she's already found out, what I know. It's all the same people. They look out after each other. They care for each other. They understand the problems that we face. They understand family separation. And it is a calling. It is a society. It is a group of people that have a common purpose. And we do understand each other, and we go to bat for each other, and we will always go to bat for each other. It's don't get between me and my guys, because you're going to be facing a lot of us. Stick
together, yeah. I always like to ask our veterans, about those that have been in war. We see a lot of movies, TV movies, and big screen movies. Do they accurately depict what it's really like in war, Richard? What would you say to that?
There have been a couple that have been pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I think the Tunnel Rats of Cu-Chi was not bad. That was a Discovery Channel show. Mm-hmm. And there have been a couple others. There's a Vietnam series, a 3-part that hasn't been too bad. But I explained, most people come to me and ask, is it like Platoon? And the thing that's interesting about Platoon is Oliver Stone served in the 25th Division in the same area I was in 1 year after me. Mm-hmm. Okay, I was home, he was there. He disappeared from the 25th Division for a while and turned up in the 1st CAF. Now, the only way that happens is if somebody gets in trouble and he's given a second chance in a different unit. Mm-hmm. Now, and that's what happened. He came home, and of course, we all know Oliver Stone. Mm-hmm. His movie, Platoon, I tell people, yeah, everything in that movie probably happened to somebody, somewhere, at some time over the 10-year period, but it didn't all happen to those guys in that period. Yeah. It's a complete compressed
collection of events.
Of the events negative, mainly. Mm-hmm. That probably happened up in Da Nang in 1962 or 68. And that probably happened down in Saigon in 19-something or another. Yeah. But it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Richard, as we close out our interview, what would you like for young people, especially our students who may be watching this interview, to learn and hopefully remember from your military experience and your life experience?
First and primary, don't shirk responsibility or obligations. Mm-hmm. If you do, you're on the path to being nothing but mediocre. Mm-hmm. Second thing, do not procrastinate. All unsuccessful people procrastinate. If you have to do something, do it promptly and on time. Third, be prepared. Rehearse. Don't be ashamed to study in your case or to practice, depending on what it is. And those are probably the 3 most important things you can do. Mm-hmm. And probably number 4, which might be number 1, be dedicated to your God, your country, and your family. Because if you're not, you have no purpose. Mm. But that's probably number 1. Mm. But and good luck, because quite frankly, you growing up in a world where people are starting to give up their individual rights, and that's scary.
Sure is. Yeah. Richard, thank you, sir, for participating in our oral history interview series and allowing us to preserve your military experience for the people of this community. Thank you, sir.
And thank you, Tom, and I want to thank my men, too, for making this possible.
Thank you for your service to our country.
And thank you for your support, and yours, too, Tom. You served.
Thank you, sir. Well, if you'd like more information regarding this interview or any interview in our Military Heritage Series, please contact the Madison County Military Heritage Commission website at mcmhc.org. I'm Tom Kennemer. Thank you for joining us.